Hi, everyone, and welcome to A Conversation With. This week, I have a very special guest, a good friend of mine, Nav Parmar, who is coach of the UNBC Timberwolves. So that was my undergrad university, and the Timberwolves are very near and dear to my heart. So welcome, Nav.
Appreciate it. Long overdue catch up.
Long overdue. We were just chatting before I hit record, and we calculated what, like 12
years. 12, 13 years, yeah.
That's insane.
I know, time flies. Time absolutely flies.
I mean, yeah, I don't even think. I feel like we blinked and now we're here.
I know, and now we're here. Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
So Nav and I, back in the day, our whole crew used to go check out the basketball games, and that was like the thing to do in Prince George. Yeah. And I and my dance team from university used to perform at those basketball games, and these guys used to like cheer us on, and it was just like, it was so much fun, and we had like good times. And now, fast forward a few years later, and you're this like major celebrity in Prince George, and you're like the coach of the basketball team.
Yeah.
And so
who would have thought? Who would have thought?
Well, I was like, what? When did this happen? I'm like, that makes sense, but I'm like, I don't even know how this like happened. I've been obviously following your journey for a while because, you know, we've stayed in touch through the power of social, and it's been really, I felt like so good every time you like post something about like whatever it is you're doing. I'm like, what a guy, like just a good guy. Like,
likewise. That's why I tell you all the time, you know, it's been incredible seeing the growth of your journey as well over the last few years, seeing where you started and where you are today. But it's just a lot of hard work, perseverance, and passion. That's the most important thing. It's a passion.
The most important, absolutely. Yeah. So let's backtrack. So after high school, then we were all at UNBC together. And then what happened? Because once I graduated, I feel like I did lose touch a little bit, and I'm bad at keeping in touch, I have to admit. But next thing I know, you're coach of the Timberwolves, and you're doing all this outreach stuff in the community, and you become like this mentor and like this public figure, and you're doing all these like cool camps, and like I can't even keep track. So let's start from the beginning, and you kind of tell me where this journey has like started and where it is now, and let's just go from there.
Sounds good. So so after our university days, I was always, and I think you guys all knew too, I was passionate about the game of basketball.
Absolutely.
But I can quite honestly say that I never anticipated being a university coach, or, you know, everything that's manifested from it. I never, you know, beyond my wildest dreams that I could have ever thought that it would go this far. Yeah. But I always knew that I wanted to be around the game in some capacity. So, you know, from that, I started coaching a lot of youth camps, just volunteering with a lot of youth camps. And then from that, I started coaching high school at PGSS here. And then just, you know, just kept building a name through the basketball, with the basketball, you know, connections around town. So then it became Todd Jordan, who's the head coach of UNBC. You know, he was kind of mentoring me throughout that entire process. And so, you know, before you know it, he, you know, wanted me to be part of his coaching staff, and I'm on year 7 now of being a UNBC coach. So, you know, just continuous growth. You know, I think it's very important to evolve as well as a coach in anything, in any field that you're passionate about. I think it's important to evolve year by year. And, you know, even though I've been coaching this many years, you know, I'm still a student of the game, and, you know, constantly learning. But yeah, it just, so from that, I was able to, you know, pursue other avenues within the game of basketball. But it all started with UNBC, you know, building a name that was big enough where I could pursue other venues and build a name in the community as a basketball figure. And from that, you know, I've been able to do so many different things. But that's all thanks to the community as well, because they've embraced me with open arms. And, you know, a lot of the kids here look up to me, and you know, it's rewarding being able to be a you know, a male role model and a mentor for a lot of these this youth and these high school kids, and even it's funny when I see adults coming to tell me if they're inspired by me as well. That's that means a lot, because it means that all the hard work and dedication to the game is all worth it when you hear things like that. So
this is surreal, because I remember, like, I was friends with your brother Smeet, and
yes.
And then we met Nav, and Nav was like the little brother of the group, and I was like, this kid is like so cute, like you tall kid, but he's so cute, and like you were so quiet, and like to see you evolve and grow and like become this like this celebrity in Prince George, and like everything that you're doing and the way you're contributing to the community and like giving back. I'm in awe. Like, it's so awesome.
I appreciate it.
I love it.
I appreciate it. Hey, I'm not the only one. You're selling yourself short here. This is it goes both ways here.
We're talking about you today. let's keep the focus.
I'm letting you know. I'm just as proud of you as you are of me. So.
Okay, so you so you finished high school, then you went straight into coaching, or
yes.
Okay.
So straight into coaching.
You were playing in high school.
I played in high school, and I still I didn't play university. I got into coaching right away, but I still played in men's leagues and things like that. Yeah, just for fun. But I found it more rewarding to be a coach. Just gaining all the wisdom and knowledge that I gained over my career. I think it was important to pass on to the next generation, and so that's what I'm doing now.
I've seen like so many things you've been doing. You have your own charity. I feel like you're always doing outreach programs. You're always running like camps. So let's talk about each one of those different things.
Okay. So in 2014, I started the Nav Palmer Foundation.
Okay.
And we specialize in helping underprivileged youth and at-risk youth. And so for me, it was important I see a lot of these kids come through the programs, and number one, they either can't afford to be in the program for circumstances that are beyond their control, or they get themselves into drugs or gangs at an early age. So for me, it was important to try to get them into programming, sports programming, to kind of be that positive outlet for them, where they don't, where they don't fall into the trap of being in a gang or doing negative things around the community. So that's why, myself and the best part of the foundation is, I run it with childhood friends, right? So all of us have a part to play in it, and we specialize in a lot of the inner city schools here in Prince George. So we do a lot of programming for them, and it's just rewarding, seeing the smiles on their faces and seeing that they're, a lot of these kids they've never had the opportunity to be able to play a sport, let alone basketball. They have a passion for it, but they just can never play it because they can't afford to be in our program. So that's where I thought it's important to do something where, we put on programming for them, and it gives them an opportunity to be able to pursue another passion or number one, a lot of these kids, they lack the self-esteem and the confidence and the positive reinforcement to actually pursue something. And so that's where we came in. Now we're that positive reinforcement for them, where we tell them, look, you're really good at this, and you should continue to pursue it, and we're going to help you, along the journey. So that's how the foundation started. And from that, I started my own 3-on-3 tournament here in the city, which has become kind of a staple in the community now.
Huge. It's really grown.
Yeah. So it's grown from where we started year one to now. It's been, the growth has been immense. So having the foundation, and then the 3-on-3, we raise money for the Heart and Stroke Foundation. And so that, again, I started that in 2015 was the inaugural tournament. And just the growth in 5 years. We didn't get to do it last year because of the pandemic.
Right.
And this year we're still waiting to see what happens, but probably won't this year as well. And then it'll start again next year. But again, keeps growing. A lot of the kids are always excited for it every year. And a lot of the parents are always excited because it's a fun day for everybody. It's a fun day for the community to come out and support. And they get to see high level basketball. So so that's how the foundation started. That's where it is today. And we continue to do a lot of programming. It's a lot of hard work, but it's all worth it in the end when we see the smile on the kids' faces and just they're the opportunity to see them be able to pursue something that they probably would have never been able to do before, and we're able to provide that for them. So it's very good. I love it. It's one of the most rewarding parts of my basketball journey thus far.
That's awesome. What type of program? Like, you're running basketball programs where you're helping these kids like develop their skills and their confidence and that sort of thing?
Exactly. So what I'll do first, I'll go into a lot of these schools and do like a talk with the entire school.
Okay.
And a lot of it is based on confidence and just, you know, pursuing a goal and what it takes to achieve that goal, the steps, the necessary steps that it takes, things like that, because those are things that they need to hear. They need to hear, you know, there's a lot of positives that can come out of your life because all they've been around is negative.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's important to keep it a positive talk. So I'll do a lot of that. I'll go into a lot of schools and give talks like that. And then from that, I'll put on programs. So I'll see what kind of where the need is in each school. So we'll kind of see, okay, what's this kid passionate about? What's this kid passionate about? And from that, like say there's a lot of kids who are wanting to pursue hockey. I'll even put on like a floor hockey tournament, right, around the city for these kids. Like it's not just basketball related. I'll put on any type of programming that they need and provide them with that.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. So from that, it's mainly kind of where the need is and where we need to address the need. So I'll do a lot of that, and I have a great relationship with a lot of the staff in each school. So they'll come to me and they'll be like, hey, you know, the students have been asking, it'd be sweet if we can do this, and then I'll meet with them and then we'll formulate a plan, and then we'll get the ball rolling and execute it. So yeah, it's like I said, it's rewarding. It's awesome to see. It's kind of sucked this last year because we haven't been able to put on as much programming because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the worst time for those kids. Like a lot of, like here, I'll put it in perspective. When we were growing up, Christmas break or spring break was kind of like, you know, we couldn't wait for that when we were in our school year. For a lot of these kids, that's the worst time for them because at home, what they see is a lot different than what we saw growing up, right? So it puts life in perspective, and you know, it makes you kind of appreciate everything we had. Like when I saw with my own eyes kind of what these kids go through, it put life in perspective for me because, you know, it just made me so appreciative of how our parents raised us and just gave us the love and you know, made sure there was a roof over our heads, food on the table. And a lot of these kids don't even know where their next meal is going to come from or where they're going to sleep the next day. So it's, that's why I try to put as much programming on as possible, because again, it gets them away from their environment and, you know, gives them something positive to do. And so that's what we do.
Yeah,
exactly. It's an outlet for them, right? It's a positive outlet. So yeah, so that's, we're brainstorming different ideas right now and trying to get the ball rolling over the next few months of what we want to do with these kids. And hopefully we're able to execute it.
Yeah. Any hints as to
it'll be like a basketball camp or you know, an ice hockey tournament or volleyball tournament or soccer, things like that. So
that's what these kids want, right? So
exactly. And it gives them something different to do. Like a lot of these kids had never touched a basketball before and they're in grade 8 or 9, right? And a lot of that is because, again, they were never given that positive push that, you know, a lot of us do with them, where we tell them, look, you're actually really good at this sport and I want you to continue playing. So I'm going to provide you every opportunity you can possibly get by playing this. And look, one day, if it turns out, I tell these kids all the time, one day, look, you may get a scholarship, you know, playing basketball, and that should be your goal. Like trying to get, because a lot of these kids are very, very good, but you don't get the opportunity to see them because number one, they can't afford to be in programming. And number two, they lack that confidence.
What was one of your moments? I call it the aha moment, where you're like, wow, this is the impact I'm having in my community, or this is bigger than what I ever imagined. Like, what was that moment for you, or have you had it yet?
You know what, it continues to grow. So once I saw growth from it, like more and more kids coming into the program, that's when I knew we had something special here going. And then when we had more and more schools wanting to get involved, that was, okay, now we've started something special. Now, you know, we got to continue to work even harder, because that's driving us to push even harder to put on even more, right, for these kids. So again, like I said, it's a lot of hard work. When you see the growth that it's had over the last 5 years, 6 years that we've had, you know, that I've been running it, it's been amazing. And then with a 3-on-3 tournament, I think so the first year we kept it small, just because anytime you're starting something new and fresh in the community, like something like that had never been done in the city before. So therefore, with the first year, I wanted to keep it small just to kind of see the ripple effect, what it would, you know, kind of see what it have. And then after the first year, and then when we were starting to plan the second year, it got to the point where like I had to tell kids that they don't have any more room.
Oh, wow.
I don't have any more room in this tournament. Like,
okay.
This is right. So with that, that's when I saw, okay, look, we're actually making a huge impact in this community.
Yeah.
And then more and more parents were, messaging me saying, hey, like, can you put on anything? Because the 3-on-3 tournaments cater towards high school students.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I had parents like,
the question is, what age group are you working with?
Exactly. So the foundation deals with like kindergarten to grade 12.
Oh wow, you start young.
So we do yeah. So we do elementary and high school for the foundation. The 3-on-3 tournament is just catered for high school students. So that's grade 8 to 12.
Okay.
So that's why it kind of balances out with the foundation programming that we do, because a lot of the younger students are able to utilize those programming. Mm-hmm. But I do get a lot of messages from parents saying like, hey, my kid wants to join the 3-on-3 tournament, but he's only in grade 5 or 6. So like maybe one day, like if we get the time to, I may plan like an elementary 3-on-3 tournament for them.
He's so fun.
But again, it's just I don't want to commit to something where I know that I can't actually put in the valuable time into it. Like there's a lot of these ideas that we have, but I always tell foundation team, like, look, I don't want to do anything unless I 100% can give the dedication and the commitment that's required in order to make it what we envision it to be. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm not just going to do something just for the sake of doing it, just because people want it. Like if I do it, I'm going to make sure that I put my heart and soul into it. But with that, I need to have the necessary time to be able to do that. And right now I just don't have the time because I'm balancing like 7-8 different things at once. So, I try to do as much as I can, but it's, again, it's unfortunate that I'm not able to do as much as I hope to do, but that's hopefully in the next year, so we can start doing more and more per year.
So how do you sustain this, and like how many people are part of your foundation that are helping you with these projects? So
with like the 3-on-3 is the biggest event that we put on from the foundation. So that involves the most people. Mm-hmm. So from that, it's a lot of my childhood friends. So there's probably like 10 of us that run it.
Oh, wow.
2 of us that started it. So like myself and my buddy Sunny, who I grew up with, we're the ones that kind of came up with the idea, but to spearhead the idea and to execute everything, everyone else got involved. So there's like 10 of us that, plan it. And then the day of, everyone's kind of working. It makes my job a lot easier because they're the ones that are facilitating it all. I'm kind of just overseeing it all. Mm-hmm. So that's what makes it a lot, every year it's a lot easier to plan. Number one, because the kids know what to expect every year, like with registrations. And like the first couple years was tough because we were kind of driving everything, like spearheading. I was handing out forms to every school. Now it's just like the kids know exactly what to do and how to register. There's
a process in place now.
Exactly. And that's why like a lot of kids are like, people always tell me, how are you going to change it every year? And then it goes back to that old cliche, right? Why change it if it's not broken?
It's not broken.
Right? Why fix it if it's not broken?
Exactly.
So we have a foundation in place. There's a blueprint now that we have. And until, like I said, until it breaks, we're going to continue to go with it. So it's so far, knock on wood, it keeps growing. And hopefully, this is something that, I always say that the goal is never to live forever, but it's to create something that will. And so I want this to be around even if I'm gone from PG, I want this tournament to still take place and give these kids that opportunity. And that was the whole vision with this whole tournament. Like it wasn't just going to be a 3-4 year thing. I want this to be going on for the next 20-30 years, right? And be a staple in the community.
Longer,
so, yeah, longer, right? Like I want this to be something where long after I'm gone, this people can, continue to have this tournament in the city. So that's the whole goal. And number one, it grows the sport of basketball in the community. But number two, the most important thing is it's giving back to the community in a positive way, and it's raising money for a good cause. So that's the most important thing every year.
So are you just working with like within the city of PG, or are you still working with people outside of PG as well? So
now it's been crazy, the growth that this tournament has had, because now we have kids from Vancouver that want to come join the tournament.
Amazing.
So we have like club programs from Vancouver that are saying, hey, like, is it okay if we're in the tournament? And that was actually the plan last year, but then we didn't get to have the tournament because of COVID. But that's something that's in the works, and we're going to have more and more teams from outside of PG involved in the tournament as well. So that's the cool thing, because it grew from like a grassroots tournament, just a PG thing.
Yeah.
And now it's actually become a staple, not only in PG, but it's all around BC and even Canada. Like, you know, coaches in Montreal are telling me, look, like, that's pretty cool what you're doing, because something like that is, it's usually like a 1 or 2 year thing and then it stops.
Yeah.
But they're like, you kept it going and continue to grow this thing over 5-6 years so far. And that's the cool thing, that they're seeing the positive growth that it's at. And we'll see. Sky's the limit with this tournament now. So again, it's a lot of hard work, but it's all worth it in the end, because we see the impact that it's making in the community.
And did I see somewhere on one of the posts you made, maybe like a couple years ago, former alumni, like basketball players came back and like helped you and like
so they always
did.
That's the best part about it, because like even players who
we were kind of all together with,
exactly our group, right? Pretty much.
Yeah.
So they'll be in town at that time, and they'll all come and help out. They'll scorekeep, or they'll just, if not any, they'll just come and support the kids, and they'll watch the basketball. And it's cool. Like, my brother comes back and he DJs the tournament, and right, like, so we have music. It's just a cool atmosphere, because it's something that PG's never had, and it's just a positive day. That's the beauty. When I get compliments of the tournament, it's always the parents saying, we just can't believe how positive it is. Like, the entire foundation team is always going around to the spectators, asking how they're doing, making sure that they're having a good time, and with the kids as well. Like, I'll try to bounce around to each court and make sure the kids are having fun, and I'll go and introduce myself to the parents and grandparents sometimes that are there. And I just want that, like, the whole goal is I want the parents and the spectators to have just as good of a time as the players are having. So that's why we keep it an atmosphere that's positive, and it's upbeat in there the entire day. And it's a cool thing. Like, I wish you could come down and
I was just thinking, I'm like, I want to come to the next one.
Yeah. It's
like, how do I get involved?
It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. The progress you've made as a coach, I've seen the impact it has, because I've seen the messages that some of the kids have sent you, and how much love they have for you, and how much respect they have for you. And it's like, how does that make you feel?
It's rewarding. It's definitely rewarding. But again, you don't do it for the praise, right? Like, the most important thing is that you're helping the new generation of athletes, number one, gain a passion for the game, and number two, continue to develop, in hopes of them being able to play university basketball or beyond university basketball. So that's the thing. But it's humbling. It's definitely humbling when I get those messages, because it's nice knowing that what I'm trying to do for them is making an impact in their life in even the smallest way. That's the beautiful part about it, because the most important thing is actually, it's not even coaching on the court. It's establishing that trust and relationship with them, where even after they're done playing basketball, that we're just as close, even though I'm not their coach anymore.
On and off the court.
Exactly. Like, the best messages I get are from players who, like, former Timberwolves players who've graduated now, who tell me, like, Nav, we miss you, man. Like, thanks for everything you did for me. Like, those are the messages that I live for, because it means that I was doing something right in their lives, even if it was something small.
If you could tell your 20-year-old self or 18-year-old self, give a piece of advice to your younger self, what would that be?
I think it would be just stay the course and stay patient. Obstacles are going to happen, no matter, the loftiest of goals, and no matter how big your dream may be or goal may be, continue to dream and understand that it's one day at a time. Because you can't control anything that happens outside of this moment, right? And so, you have to continue to stay positive. I think the one thing that I've learned is, everything comes and goes. Like, you're gonna, a storm happens, and a beautiful sun emerges right after. And it's just, it's continuing to stay the course. Inevitably, another storm's gonna arise, and then you ride that one out too, right? And so, like, I think too many times I've seen people where, as soon as the first form of adversity or obstacle hits, they're just willing to give up, right? But it's in those moments that you truly see how strong of a person you are, and how dedicated you are to this goal, because you're not going to let anything get in the way of what you envision, and what the big picture is. So mainly, I think it's most important just to embrace the journey, and not just think about the destination right away. And I've learned that over the last 4 or 5 years, It's not about the destination, it's the journey. Because when you finally reach that destination and you finally reach the mountaintop, you're not reflecting on what you just accomplished. You're reflecting on the 6-7 years that it took to reach that mountaintop, right? And that's what you reflect back on. Yeah. So the most important thing I would tell, my younger self is just enjoy the journey, embrace the journey. Don't worry about any adversity or obstacles that come your way, because again, that's part of life. Life is full of obstacles. Life is full of adversity. Yeah. And it takes, sometimes it takes things like that to figure out how strong we truly are. And like I said, if you're committed and you're passionate enough about it, you're not going to let anything stand in the way of what your goal is and what your dream is. And so that's what I've learned over the last 5 years.
Oh, let's talk about that for a second. Yeah, like the self-care culture, like growing up, like the female, it was tough, right? Because we have these like conventional and traditional roles and expectations we have on us. But even like as a male in the South Asian culture, you probably have a lot of expectations to be, choose certain career paths. And so, like, how were your parents? They seem like they were,
they were super supportive, but at the same time, a little skeptical, right? And because this is out of the norm in our culture, like what you and I have done, where we've actually pursued what we wanted to do and our passion, and right. So like, you understand, like it's we kind of went outside of our culture a bit, where we prioritize other things outside of what other kids are prioritizing, right? So it's it's different in the culture. But I think once they started to see the value of it, that was when they started to understand, okay. And number one, they wanted to see how passionate I truly was. Like, was I actually willing to sacrifice? Was I willing to dedicate myself and commit myself the way that I said I was going to, right? And so I think once they started to see that okay, he truly is serious about this, that's when the support became a lot more immense, right? And so I think it's important. Like, it's important to tell your parents, this is what I want to do, but it's also important to show them, and be consistent with it and say, look, I'm owning up to everything that I said I was going to do, because that's important as well. What they don't want to see is you starting something. They don't want to see you starting something and then, quitting within a year, and then, not even where that you just wasted an entire year of your life, right? And so that's kind of where, but I always made sure that if I said I was going to do something, come hell or high water, I was going to make sure that I whether I failed or not, I didn't know if this was going to be a fail, but I wasn't going to stop or rest until I at least pursued it, and I did everything I could to possibly make that dream become a reality, right? And so, now I'm sitting here 7-8 years later, and it's, I think I made the right call.
Good. Where do you see, like, you want the tournament to continue for years and years, but where do you see yourself in the next, like, 5 years?
Myself? Well, the goal for me is anyone who's in the field of basketball, the goal is always hopefully NBA. Yeah. Right. And so with that, there's a lot of things that have happened. Yeah, there's a lot of things that have happened over the last year. I would say that, things are manifesting themselves where I've built pretty good connections, and we'll see where it takes me in the next 5 years. Like I said, I never look too far ahead, just because number one, it's beyond my control at the same time. And all we can focus on is just this moment. And if I continue, like I always tell, like anybody that I coach or any time I'm giving advice to someone, it's, look, if you continue to develop good habits and and you're humble and you stay genuine, good things are going to come your way. And so, like I said, we'll see where the rest of my journey takes me, but I just take it one day at a time, and I don't look too far ahead, and we'll see where it goes from here. But like, things have been happening, and I've been fortunate to have some pretty cool connections within the NBA community, and whatever comes out of that, we'll see. But like I said, I stay patient and I stay the course, and I don't get too far ahead of myself. And whatever's meant to happen is going to happen. I
know we were chatting maybe a few weeks ago, and you mentioned that you were heading down to LA in the near future.
Yeah. So I was actually supposed to go this past summer, which didn't happen because of COVID. Right. But the plan is, whenever the borders open and whenever it's safe to do so again, the plan is I'm going to go to LA for a few weeks, and I'll be helping out at Kobe Bryant's Mamba Academy. I'll be helping out there.
Yes. I don't know why you're so like, you're so calm about that. And I'm like, yes, like,
yeah, it's
so exciting.
I'll be there. And then while I'm there, I've actually built a pretty good friendship with the Los Angeles Lakers assistant coach, Phil Handy. And while I'm there, I'll be bouncing back and forth between the Lakers facility and the Mamba Academy and helping some of the Lakers workouts as well with Phil Handy. So, like I said, I've been blessed.
Oh, amazing. No, let's pause for a second, because I feel like I'm almost more excited than you are. Like, when you told me that, I was like, I was staring at my phone. I'm like, okay, no big deal. What did you just say? And then again, right now, you're just like, yeah, so I'm going to go down to LA. Like, do you understand what that means? Like, a lot of, like, even some of our closest friends are going to be like, what?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Yeah, it's been, but again, like I've put a lot of work.
Amazing. Well, you clearly made the right connections, and like you're clearly like doing something right that you would have that opportunity. I really hope, like, even when you're there, I'm going to be texting you and being like, Nav, look around, understand where you are.
You know what? Yeah. I do. Like, I'll think to myself, man, like, I've been pretty fortunate with this basketball journey. But then I think to myself, like, look, I've worked pretty hard as well. Like,
absolutely.
I've put my time in. I put my time into the game, and and the most of what I've always tried to tell myself is, no matter what form of success comes your way, you stay humble and you stay genuine. You don't let it change you and affect you, right? So that's why.
However, I'm going to interrupt you there. However, stay humble, 100%, and I'm all about that. But looking back, I sometimes think I wish I enjoyed a moment a little more. Like, I wish I had stopped to smell the roses, quote unquote, just because I feel like some moments I wish I had savored just a little bit extra. When you're looking back down the road,
for sure,
there's certain moments. So I feel like this is one of those moments where you just need to like savor for, like, you're still like a humble person, and like that's never going to change about you.
Yeah.
But just savor that moment, like little bit more. You have to put in all your work and hard work.
You do, exactly. And a lot of it is because I just don't get the time to actually reflect because I'm so busy. Yeah. And so, like, when I'm done one thing, I'm on to the next thing, right? And so that's where, you're right. Like, I do need to take more time and kind of reflect on everything that I've been able to accomplish.
I'm the same way. I feel like I'm always hustling and always focused on the next thing, that sometimes like I said, I'm really, really trying to be like conscious of, like, just for a moment longer.
For sure.
For 1 second or 2 seconds. To, like,
but again, like you and I both, we focus on others rather than ourselves a lot more, right? And so we're the exact same. I'm the exact same way as you are. But a lot of it is like, one thing I actually learned from Kobe was that, there was a quote that he always said was, rest at the end, not in the middle. Right. And so with that, I always took that into account as well. Like, there's still so much more to accomplish. And, I'll reflect back on it when I've given everything to this game, and when I'm fully ready to say, you know what, I've done everything that I possibly could within the game of basketball. I've accomplished everything that I set out to do. That's the time where I'll say, okay, now I can reflect on the journey and everything that I did accomplish. But I still have so much more to do within the game of basketball, where it's hard for me to reflect because I'm always thinking of the next thing. Like, okay, I've conquered this aspect of the game. Okay, now what's next? There's got to be something else now. And so, right. And so, and I guarantee you're the same exact way, right? You're always looking, what's the next thing to pursue now? And but that just drives our passion. That just shows how passionate we are about our respective fields, right? And
I think that's the biggest thing, right? It's about, and that's what this podcast is trying to emphasize, is, to inspire others to take this unconventional path. We don't need to necessarily all be professionals. We are professional in our own field.
Exactly.
And we can, make an impact in other ways. So.
Yeah. And like the one thing I always tell people too, like the one thing I always get asked is, Nav, like, we love what you're doing, right? But I always tell them, don't love what I did, love how I did it, right? Like, right? Because there was a lot of sacrifice, there was a lot of commitment, there was a lot of dedication to the craft that took place in order for me to be able to accomplish things. And not just me, anybody who's had success in, their respective fields. Like I said, there's a lot that there was a lot that went on throughout that journey. You know, people just look at the success, and people just look at, you know, whenever they see someone accomplish something, but they never stop to realize, dude, there was a lot of moments of negativity and a lot of moments of self-doubt, and right. And then like again, I tell people all the time, whenever self-doubt's it's just natural. We all have self-doubt every single day, but you can't capitulate to it, right? You just have to embrace it, because it's part of life. And you know, everything's meant to be, you know, motivation. So anytime I have self-doubt, I just motivate myself, and I think, okay, I do have self-doubt, but what am I going to do about it? Right. And then you pinpoint, now, okay, these are the steps. Now this is what I'm going to do. And it goes for anybody, right? For yourself included. So that's what I always tell people. Don't look at what I did, look at how I did it.
I think the bottom line is, if you're continuing to move forward day by day, like things don't have to happen overnight, and they're not going to happen overnight.
Exactly.
But forward is forward. So I can sit in a corner and cry, or I can, you know, take baby steps daily and slowly. And some days are going to be more productive than others. But at the end of the day, if I'm moving forward, that's all that really matters.
And that's all we can. The only thing we can control is the 24 hours in front of us. Like, honestly, like we have 24 hours to make the most out of that day, and nothing's promised, right? Tomorrow's not promised. So that's why you have to be as productive as you can every single day, because really that's all we have, right? Nothing in life is promised. So the only things that you can control that day, right? And that's what I always tell people too. Like, don't focus on what's going to happen a week from now. Don't focus on what's going to happen a month from now. Don't focus on what's going to happen a year from now. Because at the end of the day, the only thing you really can control is the day itself. And so as long as you're making the positive steps that day, the rest will come. The rest will come, right? And so, yeah, just staying the course, staying patient.
If you weren't in basketball, what would you be doing? I know, it's like
that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I would probably be working with kids in some form.
Yeah.
Just because I found that, like, just how rewarding it's been. I just think it's always important to help the next generation, no matter what you're doing, right? And so I'd probably be doing something where I'm helping kids.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Or a motivational speaker.
Or motivational. Maybe we'll see.
How is COVID? I mean, obviously kids aren't playing, and league is kind of on hold and all that. When do you see that? Like, how are the kids doing with that? And
it's tough. It's the mental drain for sure. Like, especially with us coaching wise, it's hard recruiting, because normally, like, from when COVID hit, which was March, up until now, we're always recruiting. Like, we're going to different cities, looking at different tournaments, you know, talking to kids, being able to interact with kids that we want to bring in to the program. So from a coaching standpoint, it's been really different, just because we haven't been able to do that. From a player perspective, it's been tough, because anytime you're not playing games, the kids get sick of, like, we've been practicing since September, but like they've only been guarding each other, they've only been playing against each other. It gets repetitive, right? And it gets boring at times, which is natural. And so it's hard it's
competitive, right? So
it has to be. And it's hard to motivate yourself. Even for us coaches, it's hard to go into a practice and motivate ourselves when we know we're not preparing for anything, right? Outside of their own skill development, which is important. It's extremely important for them to develop their skills. But at the same time, you want to showcase what they've been learning against other teams, right? Which is what the team. So yeah, it's been tough. It's been a mental drain, but like I said, we've been lucky where we've still been able to practice, which has been beneficial. A lot of these teams haven't even been able to get into a gym, right? And so we're lucky that way. So we don't take that for granted. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but what can you do, right? You make the most of it and you just go with it.
Well, just trying to survive and get through this.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Who would have thought, eh? Who would have thought we'd be living through a pandemic? Like,
seriously,
it's just crazy.
That's for like the history books.
Honestly, 2020 will be in social studies, textbooks in the next like 3-4 years. Just a crazy year.
Is there anything else you wanted to add?
I think we've covered everything. The only thing I want to add is, look, I'm proud of you. This is awesome. I love what you're doing. Anytime you need any help, let me know. I'm always there. We
and
go
you let me know
long.
about this like 3-on-3 tournament because I feel
Done.
like
I expect you. I expect
Key.
you out one. Definitely.
Yeah.
I expect you out one for sure. Oh, but honestly, happy for you, Achan. This is awesome. Continue to pursue your dream. Keep pursuing your passion.
I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see
likewise.
what comes.
Likewise. This is we're both on the journey of our passions here. So
yeah.
Let's see what happens. Let's see what comes our way.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to end the podcast here, but thank you so much, Nav. I appreciate it.
No worries. Anytime.
I know a lot of people listening will be inspired by your story and your determination, and for all your kids out there, you know, I'm sure they'll be excited to listen to this and hear more from you.
I appreciate it.
Till next time.
Till next time. No problem at all.
I used to play basketball. Did you know that?
I know. You told me that. You used to tell me that back in the day. We still have to see your skills. Don't worry. We'll get you in. You can showcase your skill.
No.
You can showcase your skill.
No, I suck.
What do you mean?
I'm not good anymore. But I used to play. Yeah, no, I'll get the halftime show ready and all that again. So.
You could do the dance. That's right. You'll do the dance during the breaks in between games.
Round up all the old school people and, you know, break it out again.
Yeah.